Hey, welcome back. It is me, BrittReacts, and today we're going to react to the almighty payout. LA Archdiocese settles for $880 million. This is Josh Johnson. Let's hear it out.
You know him, you came here to see him. Y'all go crazy. Josh Johnson is here, everybody.
My friends had a baby, right? And a lot of my friends are having babies either this year or some of them already had them last year. Basically, since the pandemic, I guess my friends have had a lot of time together. Okay. Basically, I met one of my friend's babies, and I could tell that I was the baby's first black person. I could tell. It was just so apparent. It was like, as soon as we looked at each other, he went through all of the emotions at one time. Cause when they rolled him over and he looked at me, he was like, oh. Oh. You know? And it was an odd feeling. I didn't even bring it up. I could just tell. You know what I mean? I could feel it. And look, I'm not even saying it's the baby's fault. The baby got a white family. Hadn't got around to exploring the world yet.
Right.
You know? I was the baby's first black person, and it made me think about, I don't know if I fully remember the real first time, but I kind of remember what I at least think was me meeting my first white person. It's very important that the day before this happened, I was at a family picnic, right? I was at this family picnic and extended family had come. So I'm seeing cousins I don't normally see, and all of the older people are there and everything. And so some of the kids are playing, some of them running around, right? There was one kid that was running around, knocking a bunch of stuff over, one of my older cousins, right? And he had to be maybe 8 or 9 or something.
Oh no, he's too old to be doing that. He's bad. He's bad. I thought he was gonna say a toddler. Okay, this is interesting. I think this is an interesting conversation. The baby thing was funny. My favorite thing I think about, not one of my favorite things about Josh is how he connects all of his stories. So he went from talking about the baby to now we're going to hear about him meeting his first white person. I don't have that memory. I feel like I've always lived in very either mixed neighborhoods or predominantly white neighborhoods. So I don't have a memory of the first time meeting a person, a white person or any other color person, but my husband does. My husband grew up in a very, 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 I shouldn't even say very, it was a black community. He went to an all black school, high school, elementary school, middle school. He went to a all black church. And he will vividly tell you his first time ever really he had seen white people. It's he never saw white people. He played basketball. You know what I mean? He wasn't in a bubble, but the first time he had ever really had a true interaction was in college where we met, which is so crazy to me. Cause I'm just what? There for some people are really just those experiences and they remember them. I can't remember that. I feel like I've always been interweaved, and to me it's just so interesting and such a reminder of we all really do come from different walks of life, and that is okay.
But he's running around, and his parents were telling him, hey, slow down or stop or be still real quick. We're about to eat, all that stuff. And then he's still running around, knocking drinks over every once in a while. Bad. And finally, my great aunt, his grandma, as he was passing, she did that grandma move where she just snatched him real quick, right? Even his parents couldn't catch up. His parents were running come on now. She was pow, it was incredible. She snatched the little arm and stopped him right there. And then she looked at him and he looked at her. And then she said through her teeth, so you know she meant it, right? She was like, if you don't be still, I'm going to slap the black off you.
Yup.
So the next day, when I met this kid, all I could think was, it can happen. Ooh, I gotta be extra nice to him. Something clearly going on at home.
He thought they slapped the black off of a white kid.
Documentary about like serial killers and like sociopaths and stuff, and how basically they do these profiles where they try to identify whatever these like specific things are with their personality that make them the way they are, right? A lot of the traits and a lot of the signs. And one of the things they were saying in the documentary is that one of the best things you can do for anyone that's suffering from these sort of things is to find it as early as possible. That way you can help them before they do harm, you know? But then they also said that it's difficult to identify some of these traits when people are kids, because a lot of the list of what like psychopaths and sociopaths do as kids is a list of things that kids already do. Not the full list, but like a considerable amount of it, you know? And one of the things in the list is long-term bedwetting, right? Like bedwetting at like 13, 14, whatever, right? And it triggered a memory for me. Because when I was little, I had to be like 12 or something. I got invited to a sleepover, which was a big deal for me. I'm an only child, you know. Getting invited to a sleepover as a kid is like going out to the club as an adult. You know what I mean? It's the same energy. It's like me and my boys ride tonight. And so we got over there and we're having a great time. We're watching movies, we're playing games, we're like in the yard playing football and stuff. But it wasn't until it was time to go to bed that I realized that there was a hierarchy here. Because the kid who invited us, that was hosting us, only had so much room in his room. So his closest friends stayed in his room with him. And the rest of us stayed in the living room, right?
That's not right. Everybody should have stayed in the living room. Why, what? That makes no sense. That's actually super suspicious. Like, what parent would allow that? You invite people over for a summer party and then you separate when it's bedtime because you're closer with other people? Then it should have just been the ones that could fit in your room. I don't like that. I don't know. I've never heard of that before, ever in my life. Like, literally. Have you guys ever heard of that? Being invited to a slumber party and then when it comes time to slumber, I don't like that, Josh.
And stayed in his room with him. And the rest of us stayed in the living room, right? And his parents made these little bulgy, like blankets and stacks of quilts and stuff for us to sleep on and everything. And I know it shouldn't have been a big deal to me because we had been playing all day. But if you've ever been to a sleepover, you know that when you're supposed to be asleep is when the good stuff happens. That's when the real conversation is had. And that's when all the memories get made. And I'm out here in the living room with the losers. So I get ready to go to bed, right? And I was laying with this other kid because it was 2 to each for everything. And it's not really important to the story, but the kid's name was DeMarvin, right? Not really important to the story, but the kid's name was DeMarvin, right?
DeMarvin, ladies and gentlemen. DeMarvin.
And it's not really important to the story, but the kid's name was DeMarvin, right?
Important. It feels important.
And so we fall asleep, and I wake up, middle of the night. Don't even know why I woke up.
DeMarvin peed.
And I notice when I wake up that just like the side of my leg and the side of my elbow are wet. And so I look over and DeMarvin not there.
Oh, DeMarvin.
But his whole spot is wet. And I sat up, and as I sat up, I looked up, and DeMarvin was sitting across from me watching me sleep. That's strike one, all right? Any child who watches you sleep, that should be on the list right there.
I've told y'all this story before. My daughter used to do this. She would come in the room and just stand over me until I like felt her, and I would be like, I would like jerk out of my sleep because I could feel her just stand there. She would, call Jesus.
Any child who watches you sleep, that should be on the list right there.
Terrifying.
And not only is he watching me sleep, he got his legs crossed.
His wet legs?
That's strike 2. How you gonna sit there and cross your legs and watch somebody sleep like a villain?
But his legs are wet.
He's watching me sleep, has his legs crossed, and when I sit up, you ever so scared you assume you're not awake? It was so freaky to just see him there already staring at me. I was like, I'm tripping, I need to go back to bed. This kid looks at me, legs crossed, and goes, Joshua? That's strike 3. Full name? Full name. We're both kids. Full name? Yeah. You're the devil.
Yeah. That's creepy. That's very creepy. I'm creeped out.
This kid looks at me and goes, Joshua, I've wet the bed.
How is he keeping a straight face? How is he keeping a straight face?
But I'm gonna tell everyone it was you. I'm not gonna lie, I was like, what? How does that even make sense? Like, I'm the side of my leg is wet. Your whole spot was wet. People saw you sleep here. What are you talking about? You gonna tell everybody that I wet the bed? And then he goes from this like crazy intense stare to his face softening, and he's like, do you have a change of clothes? And as soon as he says it, I get it. As soon as that kid says that, I fully understand. Because that's gotta be terrifying. You know, you're at a sleepover, maybe you don't get invited to many, and you wet the bed? You're around a bunch of 12-year-old boys and you wet the bed. You'll never live it down. Wetting the bed at a sleepover at 12 is like wetting the bed when you go out clubbing with your boys. It's like, you killing the whole vibe right now. What? I knew we shouldn't have invited Jerry. He wet in the bed. Can't handle.
The thing that Josh does is like the way he's just telling us stories. Now, if these stories are true or not, I don't think it matters. But the way he tells the stories, like you're so invested and you're like really listening, you're really following through. And then he hits you with the punchline, right? And now you're laughing, you're like, oh, but he's such a good storyteller and he takes his time. I love how much we're just chilling, we're just macking, we're just talking, you know what I mean?
I knew we shouldn't have invited Jerry. He wet in the bed, can't handle his liquor at all.
Yuck.
So as soon as he said it, I got it. I really did. I understood.
But you didn't give me your clothes.
Like, dang. That's tough, right? I don't know what I would do. I wet the bed. I'm trying to make friends with other kids. I'm a living room kid as well, so I'm already a loser. And then I wet the bed. I wouldn't live it down. And so I looked at him. I was like, man, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I only have the clothes that I have. I don't have any extra clothes. And then he goes, oh, okay. And I don't know where he got it from, but as soon as he said okay, he grabbed a cup of water and he threw it on me, right? And as soon as he threw the water on my crotch, I was like, ow, what's wrong with you? And the first kid woke up and DeMarvin was like, Josh wet the bed. And this is my thing. It would have been so much simpler to wake up in the middle of the night, realize that you wet the bed, go to the kitchen, which I'm assuming he went to, grab a mug, which I'm assuming he did, fill it with water, which he must have had, and then just poured it on me while I was sleeping. That would have been so much easier. I wouldn't have known. I would have woken up and been like, damn, y'all, I'm sorry. I thought I was done with this. I'm killing the vibe right now. It's so much more insane to wake up, realize you wet the bed, sit across from me, wait for me to wake up, staring at me the whole time, crossing your legs, saying my full name, telling me your plan, and then throwing water on me. I don't know where DeMarvin is now. I'm assuming
in prison
that he's alive and well. But I do know for a fact that someone somewhere is dead.
DeMarvin, are you out there?
My other friends had kids in like 2022, 2023 and stuff. So then their kids are like at that age where they're like over a year old. They're basically at that age where you keep still saying like months. Uh-huh. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Like nobody can just say like 1.2. I don't know, it's just as accurate, you know what I mean? Don't make me do the math. Cause anything past 12, I know 12 months is a year, right? I know 18 months, year and a half. Once you hit me with a 27 months, I'm like,
I agree. I have a 1-year-old now, and I don't go by the months unless I'm at the doctor's office. I feel like the doctor's office, it's required, but like I'm like, he's 1. And if you want more than that, then ask. But otherwise, he's 1. Like, don't ask where in his one-dom he lands. He's 1, right? You don't ask me, oh, you're 36 and how many months? You don't ask me that. Don't ask him.
I'm like, and so their baby is 16 months, 1.6. And they have a beautiful little boy, right? But
wait, what did
it's funny.
16 months make him 1.4 because he's 4 months out of 12 months? These are the type of things that trip me up in life.
Beautiful little boy, right? But it's funny, I didn't even think about this until I was hanging out at their house, you know? When it comes to our nature as people, right? We have the id, we have the ego, we have the superego, right? The id is like your lowest form. It's the impulsive part of your brain that is repulsed by pain. It's excited by pleasure, seeks it at all costs, right? The superego is your judgment. It's sort of your higher self in a way. It's how you weigh and balance some of your actions. A lot of religions attribute it to like the God in us trying to tell us what's right and wrong.
See?
Morally.
I'm learning.
And the ego is what mediates between the id and the superego. So then you'll have an id moment. Superego will judge it. Ego will process it, right? Id is like, I would very much like to sleep with this person. Superego is like, don't do that. That's your friend's wife. And then ego is like, but she's so hot. Didn't say this was all gonna be a good person, right?
Okay.
But it's interesting being around babies, because babies are all like cave person. They're all id. They're not weighing anything yet. It's just, I would like to do that. I'd like to not do that. They're not thinking about the bigger picture, right? There was one point where...
True. I feel like I'm in class right now, guys.
My friend sat her baby down in his little seat, right? And she laid her coffee on the counter, right? And then she had to go grab something else. And as soon as she laid the coffee down on the counter, the baby looked at the coffee. And you could tell, and I don't know why I do this, but I always give babies in my head, I always give them deep voices when they're thinking, right?
What?
Because
like
I saw the baby look at the cup and was like, the coffee is in the cup. But what if it wasn't?
This is literally where this is the phase. This is the stage of life we're in. Everything has to be not what it's supposed to be, i.e. the liquid in the cup, the clothing in the drawer. Everything has to be the opposite of where and how it is supposed to be. It's what pleases babies. I don't understand. Food on the floor instead of on the, like, it's just, why? Like, why? Why?
Wasn't.
Look at his evil villain
And
stare.
so then this baby went to knock the cup over, right? Knock the cup over and
Now,
just
Josh,
go
you
ahead
watched
and watch
the
the
baby
whole
do that?
spill. And I don't know how, but babies are fast and slow at the same time, right? Because as soon as, so she sat the baby down, walked away. The baby looked at the cup and looked at me. I looked at the cup and looked at the baby. And I swear, as soon as I started moving to stop the baby, the baby was like, oh! As soon as we locked eyes, it became an emergency. I gotta get this cup over. I have full legs. I was running at this baby. I was running at the baby to stop him from knocking off the coffee so hard that I was scared I wouldn't stop. I was scared I was gonna take out the coffee and the baby, right? But I'm trying to make my way across the room and the baby just, oh! And right as he slapped the cup of coffee over, I got to him and I pulled him up and away from the coffee, and he was just looking at me. Like, looking me in my eyes, you know? And he didn't say anything, but you could tell he was thinking, I win.
The voice is too much. The voice is too much.
I don't know if y'all saw what's happening in L.A., but the Archdiocese in L.A. just settled for $750 million with the lawsuits of everyone who had claimed abuse while they were patrons of the church. $750 million.
So
I think 800 million when you count in some other stuff. That brings the Catholic Church's total payout to $1.5 billion.
Oh, but they got it. Okay, so a few days ago, I was reacting to SNL's weekend update segment. And in that segment, Michael Shea mentioned this, and I was like, no, are you serious? That's insane. And someone commented and said, Josh has a whole spiel on it. And that is how, friends, we got here. An abuse of power in any sense of the way is atrocious. An abuse of religious, biblical power is just the top of the worst. I can't, like, the amount of trust and faith that people have, and it is taken and abused. Not enough money in the world.
To $1.5 billion. Anyone else would be closed.
Anyone else would go into foreclosure and shut it down.
That's so much money. $1.5 billion that you had.
Insane.
You had $1 billion to pay out with. That's crazy, you know?
That's insane.
There's no other company I could really think of
It's insane.
that could do that much harm
It's insane.
and be able to afford the payout. You know? You'd have to be like a gun manufacturer or something. It's so jarring, you know? I think that's what really bothers me about it. It's like there's the payout. And anytime someone has to pay, even if it hurts a little to pay, if they had the money, it feels like less justice.
Yeah,
they had it,
yeah.
you know?
Okay, I
You
agree with
gotta
him
make-
on that.
You gotta make them pay a number that they genuinely don't know.
That hurts their pockets.
I don't know if we can do. Good, that's exactly how much I want. You know, $1.5 billion worth of damage that you also admit you did. You know? This isn't like hush money. This is a settlement where everybody knows what happened and everybody knows how you handled it. You know? That's so jarring. And it makes you, how can that not affect your faith? You know what I mean? You went to this place. This is supposed to be the safest place in the world.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be the place where you like lay down every burden, not pick up extra. Do you know what I mean? I don't even know where you go from here. It's beyond PR. You can't be
fix
like,
it.
but we also donate a lot.
Right. Can't fix it. There's no fixing that.
I don't know if I want you around anybody right now. That's, you know, that's my thing.
Yeah.
I don't even just care about the money. I'm glad that they had to pay, and I'm glad that, you know, survivors are getting something for all those years of trauma, all those years of therapy, all those years of like.
Okay, anyone who has any extra information on this, feel free to let me know, because outside of the weekend update, I did not know this was a thing. I mean, you've heard over the years and decades of the abuse in the Catholic Church and just churches in general, but I didn't know this specific settlement had happened in Los Angeles. But like, how many victims are splitting this almost $1 billion? Not that the amount matters. I'm just saying, like, how many people, to get to a number like 880 million, how many people are involved is really my question. And like, what? This is wild to me. This is why I say all the time, as a Christian, I completely understand how people think the church, religion, Christianity is a farce, because there are far more people publicly doing really bad things than there are the people who are really doing the good work, the faith work, the kingdom work behind the scenes that mean well. But those people are not, they're not being publicized. It's the people who are literally abusing and misusing. And it's like, I get it. I can totally understand. But yeah, like, how do these people recover? Like, imagine not even just the harm you've done to these individuals, but the people who lost faith because of something a man who couldn't control himself did. Or women, men and women, who allowed something to happen and kept it quiet. It's repulsive.
Are getting something for all those years of trauma, all those years of therapy, all those years of like trying to navigate the world, and people looking at you like it must be you. If you're dealing with something all day, it does not escape your mind, and you can't even hold down a job because the way that people are around you affects everything that you do. I'm glad that they have something in return from that, you know, because you can't undo what's been done, right? But like, who's in jail? Is anybody in jail? We always forget that jail would be better. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure that that's what they want, but it takes so long to get justice. Half of the monsters are like dead. And then the other half are like still alive, but then there's like statute of limitations, which I don't know. I don't fully understand statute of limitations, because I understand that it's constitutional to have a fair and speedy trial, right? But we don't seem to do that either. You know what I mean? Like, if Young Thug's trial can last 75 years.
Listen, Young Thug got freed on Halloween, all right? Young Thug is out. That's so crazy you brought that up. Thug is out and banned from the ATL, and ATL is crying because of it. I'm telling y'all right now. But no, he's correct. So it is interesting how some trials some cases can go to trial really quickly and others don't. Like, I don't understand. I wouldn't even act like I'm sure there's an answer and a reason, but I do feel like whoever came up with this statute of limitations is someone who was guilty of something and put that in place. It's just my opinion, because I don't get it either. It's like, I understand how people can question someone who comes out 15 years later and says something happened to them. That does not ever nullify what happened to them. They, I'm sure, have their reasons. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that, or if you are a lawyer or a judge or have any, education on that, please, I would love to read that. So let me know.
Have a fair and speedy trial, right? But we don't seem to do that either. You know what I mean? Like if Young Thug's trial can last 75 years.
The longest, most kooky circus of a trial.
Get over here. I know it was a long time ago. Doesn't change the fact that you did it. You know? That's what's so painful about it too. You know?
Yeah.
Because then it affects you whether you know it or not. Whether you're, you know, like Christian, Catholic, whatever. You try to tell somebody about Jesus and they're like, oh, I've heard.
Right. Exactly. Like, yeah, your Jesus?
Do you know
exactly.
What I mean? It's a burden that we all carry. It's a weight that like is inescapable. And it happened to, in a way it happened to all of us. Obviously not in direct enough of a way that I'm like claiming some victimhood or anything, but it also, you yourself might trust this person that you find out is a monster, which then makes you question everything this person said to you. Maybe they didn't do anything to you, but they did something so horrific to someone else that you're like, how can that person that did those things be right about what happens when you die? Like, I know the two seem like they don't have anything to do with each other, but they're so directly related.
Yeah.
Because this person is basically telling you the keys to a good life, the keys to being a good person, and the keys to salvation.
And then
you realize that they were dangling those keys over someone else to keep their silence, right?
Oh, I thought he was going to say something
That's
else.
too heavy, you know?
Gutter, mind, sorry.
I don't even know where you would go from here. Because nothing that is said by anyone in the church seems to fill the void that the church has created, both between people and themselves and between...
Oh, Josh, that was a word. Josh is a believer. I can tell. I can tell by the way that he speaks. The church has a void that they need to fill, but it's the void they created. Fire.
Fill the void that the church has created, both between people and themselves and between the people who had harm done to them and the way to redemption. It's just so far, you know? And the people writing now, the people who write for the church, the people who are the spokespeople, the people that we see, they don't have it like that really. Like they're like when they say their words, it doesn't hit like the Bible hit. There's no thous that can bridge the gap that's been created, right? There's no ye's that make me feel better. You know?
I love the real reaction of the audience.
Because I don't know. What is the truth taught by a liar? Do you know what I mean?
Dang, Josh, you going deep. What is the truth told by a liar? Sit with it. Moment of silence. That I've never heard. I need to write that down. What is the truth told by a liar? Look at me. What is the truth told by Josh, you out here doing God's work, sir.
Even if you really believe, you believe it from the bottom of your heart, this guy, this Weinstein is gonna be the guy who spreads the word? That seems short-sighted. And then how they handled it too, because they handled it like the mob would handle it.
Dang, I need to read up on this.
You know?
What went down?
They didn't look at those people, those patrons, those souls that they have a responsibility to, that they took up the responsibility to. No, I personally don't know anyone who was made to go to seminary. Everybody there is a volunteer, you know? And so you'd find out. Sometimes it was the priests themselves telling their superior, I got a problem, right? And the superior was like, we'll get you out of town. That was the move for a long time. It's why so much damage was done.
Wow.
You know?
Guys.
If your toilet is broken, you get it out the house. You don't move it to another family's house to ruin their life.
Great analogy.
Do you see what I mean?
Great way to frame that, Josh.
You know what I mean?
Toilet.
And it's just, I don't know. I know I kind of like land on this thing a lot. And so I'm maybe I'm doing the point a disservice, you know? Because a part of me hopes against hope that I don't care how it happens. I want everything that those priests were teaching to be real, right? I want it to be the truth. So that way we all know in our hearts that there's a hell. And I know that's like way more fire and brimstone. That's not like the uplifting message or anything, but I don't know. I just feel like it would be nice. It'd be nice to, you know, finally get justice. 20 years too late, the person's passed away, and then you're like, nah, God got him.
All right, maybe he's not a believer, but he talks like he's grown up in the church. I was Googling how old he was because he has a wisdom about him. He's born in 1990. He's 34 years old. He's from Louisiana. Okay, he became a correspondent on The Daily Show in February, and that was how I was introduced to him. I reacted to his segment on The Daily Show first. He's hilarious. He's hilarious, but he's well-informed, and he speaks through these things really well. He breaks it down really well, and there are these pockets of humor to relieve you from the realness of it, but it's real. I did last night Google his tour because I saw someone say he's going on tour, but he is sold out of both of the cities that are close enough for me to get to, but I did put myself on the wait list. So if you got the Josh hookup, so you can tell Josh that Britt is trying to get to his show. All right, guys. Just be a good person, because I promise you, no matter what, at the end of the day, you will have the day that you deserve.